Hello everybody, this is my third take on doing a video of this journal. First time my dog barked and the phone rang, and so I'm hoping that this is the last video I can do. The first video I really did was pretty raw, but so I won't count that one. I guess it was a practice one. So this is a vintage sewing themed journal that I made with some vintage, a lot of vintage items, authentic ephemera, like that I have either kept from as family heirlooms, things that I've purchased and so on. And then there's some things that are newer that I've included. This is a file folder that I covered with fabric from a vintage tablecloth. And this is a bunch of just lace and fabric pieces that I sewed together and sewed the button on to make kind of like a flower, and some eyelash trim and some other, trims from vintage pieces that I have acquired over the years. This is a little lock and a little key on this pin. You'll see these little wooden spools of thread, miniature things with a charm, and I'll show you what that is when I get to the middle of the book. And the first page we have here, and I will try to stay in frame as best as I can. A little buttoning closure with some pieces of ephemera in it. This has some lace and piece of fabric doily on this. Those were things that I coffee stained and embellished. It's just a little flower, some paper to journal on, and a couple tags. So I added some buttons too, distressed, ink distressed. And then we have this, and I took some thread and wrapped it around there with a needle. Some sari ribbon on a lot of the tags. I love that sari ribbon. This is a tag that I added a button to. This is a little doily. This is authentic, out of my stash. This is some graph paper. This is actually a card that I purchased. It's vintage and it says, "Who's your tailor?" It's an advertisement card, and I really like that. Put it here in this little belly band. You can see it's pretty tattered and worn, but I love that about it. Some more eyelash trim, tag, some cheesecloth, buttons. And this is actually a piece of the pattern paper from when you open up the patterns, and there's the tissue paper. This is your instruction sheet. I did that. Made a little pocket for some more tags. Little metal charm, a pair of scissors, a little threader. This was a tag actually off of a coil zipper, and I distressed it a little and added it here. There's a little teeny tuck spot for the threader. It's a little flip spot, and another pocket with some ephemera. This was actually out of one of those thread kits that women carry sometimes in their purses. Sometimes hotels give them out. Well, this was in there, and I wrapped some thread around it and included it. This was a vintage sewing card that I had. I actually made a copy of it. It's pretty thin, so I made a copy of it and, added it onto some cardstock to give it some sturdiness. I try to make everything, nice and kind of, durable so that things don't fall apart, because I would hate for somebody to buy something from me and then it fall apart. Some more tags. And another little pocket. This is from a craft and sewing magazine. Some cheesecloth and a snap. This is an old piece of metal. I had bought this a long time ago, and they're the neatest little pieces, and I really wanted to include that in here. It's like, I don't know if it was an embellishment to something, but I just really liked it and wanted to include that. Cloth doily, little bag, pocket. Now, and there's ephemera, and then this is just a little booklet I made, and I sewed it down the side here. The flower, it's a floral print, very, very faint. Some coffee dyed paper here to journal on. That's a little booklet. And some more lace, journaling, little safety pin. So this was actually a piece of ephemera off of a tracing wheel. That has, like, it had sheets of tracing paper in it. It's pretty neat. I'd never really seen that before. This was just, I stamped it. I was trying to keep it simple so you could place it in and out of here, because on the back, I actually copied a ruler that I had and put it on the back so you could actually measure it, you know, measure things with it. I actually measured this journal with it so that I could list it on my Etsy site to, you know, put the measurements on there. And there's a snap on here. This actually is a supposedly bustier buckle, bra buckle. The gentleman at my local vintage store had told me that's what they were. And so I bought a bunch of them because I really like this. And I wanted to include it in here, so. Little tag topper, we'll call that. All right, and then another little tag stamped. You know, sewn some of the pages, added a little fabric, some more ephemera, paper to journal on, tuck spot. Oh, and almost passed it up. Here's that center bookmarker. And it has these little, you know, wooden spools of thread and little metal charm of thread. I keep it in the middle, of course, when you're done, if you wanted to keep it out here and then just wrap it around, you know, you could do that. I personally would like, you know, I think I'd keep it in here and keep it nice and clean in there. But also, you know, it's a good bookmark. I think we're gonna, and some more journaling cards. I don't think I skipped a page. And this is an actual button card that I had on my stash. And I use a bobby pin. I like bobby pins. That's something different. Reminds me of my gram. She was old. So, just, I thought it was kind of unique. I like them. And I just added a little bead to it. I'm sure you can embellish them a lot more. I try to keep things somewhat simple. A little glassine envelope here with some lace put on it, trim. This is a little piece of paper, like a booklet kind of. You open it up like that. And this is a little booklet I made. And it has some lace on it. And paper inside to just doodle. Jot something down. Something little. This is actually the tissue paper of pattern, and I adhered it to a piece of cloth to give it a little bit of stability. But it's kind of soft, but it's, you know, it's better than just putting the tissue paper in there, which I really wanted to use that. Some journaling spots, a couple more tags with a little pocket. Another tag with some paper. This is a cloth doily as a tuck spot. This is a double tuck here. Tuck it there, tuck it up there. Tags. Everything, of course, is sewing themed. This was a button card that I altered, and then I got coordinating thread and sewed it to make a pocket, and found some coordinating buttons in my stash to include that, and kind of went with the color in this card. I kind of And I like to do that. It's kind of fun to try to do a search to find things that match. Little paper clip tag. This is actually a little tuck spot. It's kind of shallow, but if you had a piece of paper and you just want to tuck that corner in there to keep it, you know, from falling out this way or something, I mean, it would be good for that. Oh, it's like somebody had crocheted this when I purchased these, and I really like them. They're little, and but it's actually something that somebody had crocheted. And some more vintage cards with a little tuck spot there. This is just glued in. And some lace trim. And place to journal on. This is actually from the pattern. It's off the back of the pattern envelope. And I adhered it to a file folder. Made like this little hidden place. Something different. And this string was embroidery thread that my grandma had, and I just had crocheted it to make that. And you could journal here. This is just, you know, a little decoration. And this actually is the safety pin holder in that thread holder that you carry in your purse I was talking about. These are actually, this was from out of there. So I included it in here and stamped it and distressed it and put the little pins there. So it's actually functional. And there's the back. And then, you know, like I said, you wind it around like this, or you don't have to. You can just tie it without winding around. I just do it this way because I really don't want that much string hanging. But if you add things to it and it gets really chunky, then you'll have the option of just tying it. And then just make a bigger bow so it doesn't hang so much. So whatever your preference is, whatever works for you. I hope you like it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.